A man enters the audience chamber while holding a child, so Vyeshu asks if he called for him and remembers the man who held Rashta's first child. Alan Rimwell answered that he went to represent Roteshu, who has not returned, finding his sister. So Vyeshu softens his reprimand and orders Alan to bring his child closer. Alan is startled by the sudden order and questions what it is for. He finds it strange that Emperor Sovyeshu suddenly asked him to bring his child. Sovyeshu repeat his orders, which Alan gives to him, despite his initial disgust. As he sees the baby, his thoughts of Alan fade, and he becomes suspicious about the child's father's connection to Glorium. Sovyeshu denies the child's resemblance to Rashta and his daughter, arguing that it's impossible for the first child to be from the same father due to dates. He tries to think positively, but faces embarrassment taking a paternity test. The emperor was horrified to see his daughter reflected in a strange child, so he returned him to Alan. Alan's eyes widened as he saw the princess's face and her high-quality baby dress and soft socks, adorned with pearls. Sovyeshu inquired about the father of the child, but Alan's stare surprised him, as his father had informed the emperor that Anne's real father was unknown. Alan answered that he didn't know the child's father and explained that he only grew affection to the child as time goes by. Despite the pressure from the emperor, Alan lowered his head and held his son tightly. Sovyeshu allowed him to leave, and Alan expressed gratitude, hurried out of the room. Heinle and Duke Capman joined hands while Navier was suppressing her laughter. Heinle volunteered to learn from Capman how to know the nature of Navier's magic. McKenna entered Heinle's office, claiming permission to move freely, and saw the scene which makes him confused. McKenna reveals that Krista has committed suicide, ignoring what they were doing. After Capman and Navier left, Heinle confirms that Krista committed suicide, but puzzled why did she do it. McKenna suggests it might because of the letter Heinle sent her that her father, Duke Zemencia, had abandoned her. She was angry with her father during the state council. Old Duke Zemencia is shocked to learn that Krista committed suicide, despite her strong will to take her own life. He denies the news and becomes furious, accusing the emperor of causing her death. A will has been found, revealing that Krista was abandoned by the old duke, which broke her heart. He didn't believe it and believes it was a fake will. Heinle believes Marquis Ketron as despicable and careless, but he's smart. He spread infertility rumors, and now, after his sister-in-law's death, he's stepping forward in another direction, sending the empress a cradle. He suggests Krista's suicide may have caused a break with the old duke. McKenna questions his next actions, as the duke may not believe Krista's suicide. Heinle plans to exploit his fierce temperament to make him hostile towards him, causing his close aides to question his loyalty, and he will also isolate him from nobles, aiming to make him appear mad. Navier was shocked by Krista's suicide. Despite not liking Krista, she was unhappy to hear about her death and preferred her to remain healthy in Compshire. She shook her head to avoid thoughts of her and entered the drawing room, confronted by a magnificent cradle sent by the Ketron family. The room was also filled with gifts for the baby, causing divided opinions on its use. Her fake parents visited he and worried about her future with her husband and is concerned about the princess's nanny, Viscountess Verdi. After crying, she reveals that it's due to the future concubine, Evely. She believes that without Evely, His Majesty wouldn't have turned away from her. She feared a situation where it would be discovered that Evely was their real daughter, so she wants them to eliminate their own daughter. They reassured Rashta that she was beautiful and that His Majesty would lose interest in that mage. After her fake parents left, Arian is asked to borrow a baby the size of Rashta's daughter for 6 hours a day and make a reason that the princess needs a friend her age. Rashta explains that she needs to practice holding a baby. Just then, the maid brought in Alan Rimwell and told her their visits, bringing a child. Rashta led Alan into practice with her first child, who looked like the princess. Alan arrived with a small child, hiding his face. She asked the reason of his visit and reprimanded Alan to call her Your Majesty. Alan surprised Rashta by revealing that he is the first child of the Empress and the first child of the Eastern Empire and questioned why Anne should be treated like a bastard child and questioned that he deserves to be treated like a quasi-prince. Rashta, once a slave, now has the opportunity to help her child, and Alan's hopeful outlook makes Rashta fear for her child's future. After a visit to the capital, Heinle suggested organizing a banquet to celebrate Navier's pregnancy. She was surprised and objected, stating that it would be burdensome to organize a banquet now, as it would be soon his birthday party. Heinli suggests organizing a simple banquet to celebrate the trade with Rift, and Navier reluctantly agrees because of his strong desire to do so. Soviesha crushed an invitation sent by the Western Empire's emperor, causing his vision to blur. He questioned how he could congratulate his ex-wife on her pregnancy and ask him to give him an advice. He compares Heinli to a bloody lunatic who wrote an invitation as if they were a lifelong friend. Marquis Karl informs Soviesha that Rashta is crying in Duke Elgi's arms, a rumor that spread yesterday. Soviesha jokes that if the rumor spread, everyone in the imperial palace is talking about it, making Marquis Karl uncomfortable. As unpleasant as it was to hear that Rashta had gone for comfort in Duke Elgi's arms, what actually worried him was that the princess was not his child. Soviesha reflects on an image of a child born between him and Navier. He feels suffocated and unsure if the child will be a prince or princess. He hopes that Heinli's child looks like him and not Navier. Heinli learned the mana control method from Grand Duke Kapman. Navier eagerly awaited learning and wanted to show her parents. However, Heinli refused, stating it was dangerous and needed to be tested first. Navier asked of how Heinli plans to test it, but he assures her that he will help her control mana after getting a test subject. Marquis Ketrin enters a room with a pale, dark complexion and arrogant appearance. Heinli's expression remains unchanged and asks Marquis Ketrin about Duke Zemencia's weakness, which surprises him. Marquis Ketrin is asked to change sides by selling his uncle, old Duke Zemencia, to cover up his own crimes. Heinli cornered him, threatening to forget his actions if he revealed his uncle's weaknesses. Marquis Ketrin discusses the old Duke's weakness, which is his love for his two grandchildren. His heartbeat quickens, questioning if the Duke truly abandoned Krista for his son and grandchildren, or if the Emperor is trying to separate them. Heinli confronts Marquis Ketrin that what he reveals is not enough to cover his crimes. The Marquis what he need more. Heinli answered that he needs his body. McKenna shares a secret about a request made by His Majesty Heinli to Marquis Ketrin, who initially struggled to understand the meaning. McKenna questions Navier about Heinli's actions. Heinli sought Marquis Ketrin's body to test his mana control and concentrate, as a mage, learning from Grand Duke Kapman. McKenna is surprised by Heinli's experiment on someone else, Marquis Ketrin. She acknowledges that Heinli did it for her, but is unsure about the situation. She wants to learn something new. Laura told the Empress about Lady Nyan fighting with Viscount Langle, who is concerned about Marquis Liberty's courtship. Heinli apologizes about yesterday. They discuss their feelings and how he can now help Navier control her mana. She was thinking that Heinli didn't told her about getting Marquis Ketrin as his test subject. The Empress hesitates before he begins a procedure, revealing that kissing is part of it. He explains it's helpful and he chuckles, saying it feels good. She doesn't stop him if it was needed. Rashta was feeling overwhelmed by her current situation and recalls a conversation with Marquis Karl, who advised her to be more cautious. He mentions meeting with Duke Elgi, and a rumor in the newspapers suggests they have frequent meetings alone. Rashta questions Sovieshu's actions, claiming he brought another concubine, took her away from her daughter, and treated her coldly. She believed she had done nothing wrong and blamed Sovieshu for false rumors. She argued that her friendship with Duke Elgi remained unchanged, suggesting it was Sovieshu's fault. Rashta overheard nobles conversing while taking a stroll, hurriedly hiding due to potential criticism from others. She also heard about attending a banquet to celebrate Navier's pregnancy. She is puzzled and believes that Navier is infertile and wonders how she could be pregnant and have a good relationship with Emperor Heinli. She is shocked by the false rumors and the absurdity of the situation. Duke Elgi notices Rashta's anger and asks about her. Rashta shares that she hates a woman who is living happily. She asks where is he going, while Duke Elgi answered that he will visit the Western Empire to attend a banquet. She asked if he will abandon her, but he explained that he wants to express his desire to see Heinli and congratulate him on his first child. Duke Elgi asks if she will attend the banquet. Rashta is depressed about her recent lack of treatment as an empress. Elgi believes that every country should treat its distinguished guests with utmost courtesy, but she doesn't want to see Navier's happiness. She desires to see Emperor Heinli, who she believed had interest in her, but she was obsessed with Sovieshu at that time. Rashta unexpectedly wanted to visit the Western Empire, but Sovieshu granted permission, allowing her to watch Navier and learn about Empress behavior. Sovieshu took the opportunity to send his close knights to Rashta's maids. The next day, Marquis Ferrang left to meet his friend Kosher, and Soviesha sent Evely, whom he had intended to send for Heinlei's birthday. Many other nobles also went to visit the Western Empire on their own, so the bustling imperial palace suddenly seemed to fall silent. Old Duke Zementia informs his grandchildren about his Aunt Krista's suicide for the family's future. He urges them to study hard and be great people to strengthen the family and avenge Krista's sacrifice. However, the two children are annoyed due to their aunt's attempt to disgrace the empress, and they weren't empathetic to what happened to her. Angry with his grandchildren, old Duke Zementia slapped his grandson, causing tears. His granddaughter by his side questioned why he hit him, claiming his brother didn't say anything wrong. Neria told him that what his son told him was true, and it's Krista's fault why they were treated poorly and not invited to a banquet celebrating the first child of the imperial family. Old Duke Zementia was angry and bloodshot, while the butler tried to help him. He is questioning the sacrifice of his daughter Krista for his grandchildren. The Duke questioned how he chose to save his grandchildren instead of his own daughter. The old Duke, grieving for Krista, he cries, causing his heart to burst.